Welcome to Creative Brews. I'm Kristen, and this is your weekly dose of creativity, where photography, design, and life come together. So, grab your favorite drink, and let's talk about what's brewing. All right, welcome back to another episode of Creative Brews. I'm Kristen, your host. So it looks like I got quite a bit of positive feedback from the last episode, which makes me very excited because, again, like I keep saying, I'm so excited to even be doing this. It's something so different for me. And, I've made plenty of videos on YouTube over the years, and you'd think, is it really that different than just making a video and posting it? And I would say something about, I think it's the mic. And then seeing, like, the voice recording and all that, or seeing your voice being recorded and stuff like that. Because I figured maybe at some point in time we'd go over, like, my little setup here. Of course, I have my camera that's up there with the ring light for right now, because I do plan on getting some new lighting at some point in time down the road. Definitely, if you're a photographer that's watching or listening, definitely probably from Aperture Lighting. That's something that I've wanted to get for a long time, but I just never came around to it. But now is the time. And not to go off on a tangent or anything, because guess what? I have not planned really that much for this episode, which is kind of scary, because the beginning episode, of course, I kind of wrote like an outline of, topics and stuff to talk about and how I kind of wanted it to go. But before I forget what I was wanting to say, the last thing that I said before all that was now's the time. And let me just tell you, that is the theme for this year for me. I just decided that. Now is the time. That's all I'm going to say. If you know, you know. Comment something down below if you're watching on YouTube. But that's the theme for this year. I already felt it in January, and I'm still feeling it, so that's the theme. But yeah, so got a lot of positive feedback from the last episode, which is really nice. Yeah, so like I said, I didn't really plan that much for this episode. What I mean by that is I didn't really sit down and say, okay, these are the topics that I'm going to talk about in this episode. I kind of wanted to wing it, if that makes any sense. Since I was talking about lighting, I guess we can talk about some photography things. I kind of touched on it in the last episode, sort of like how I began, kinda. I didn't really go too much into depth about it. Again, my little one is in the swing. I'm gonna see how long I can talk before he wakes up. And hopefully I don't lose my track of thought, which is why I usually, like on my iPad, what I'm looking at is like, I've got a split screen. On one side is what would be the outline of episode 2. And then on the other side of the screen is basically, just me recording this episode. Because with how everything's set up right now, in the future, how I'm going to set it up is basically just attach my mic to my camera. That's what I want to do. Because, you have a cord and you can do that. So, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I might sort of talk about like the setup and how I have things set up. I have a friend who wants to get a podcast going, but he is having some issues. So if you'd be interested in that, I could at least kind of go through like a top overview, like bird's eye view of the layout that I have, and maybe that'll help somebody. I don't really know. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below if that'd be something you'd be interested in seeing or hearing or anything like that. So, yeah, this week is Valentine's week. Valentine's Day is Friday. What's everybody doing? I'm just kidding. No, I want to know what you're doing. This, like I said, this week is Valentine's, and for me and my boyfriend, we are going out to eat, and, well, of course, we're going to have our little one, too, so he's our little Valentine. In some ways, I'm not going to really talk too much about it, but in some ways, I kind of think Valentine's Day is a little overrated, if you ask me. You didn't ask me, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it's a little overrated. I think, if you're in a relationship, if you're married, you should show the person that you love how much you love them, every day when you can, You don't have to go out of your way and do like some big ol', gesture, but, I think it's important. Anyways, get off that. Cheers. I have a little bit of coffee left from this morning. Well, not really this morning, but kind of mid-morning. So probably shouldn't be drinking it now, but hey, what the heck. So, yeah, I got it in my Valentine's mug, which is why, it kind of reminded me of that Valentine's Day is this week, which by the time I upload this episode, it'll be past Valentine's. So, happy Valentine's Day to you whenever you're listening or watching this. But, yeah, so I know in the last episode, I apologize. It's probably going to take me a few episodes before I kind of get more comfortable and stuff like that. Not that I'm not comfortable, but I kept saying and like in the last episode, so I am so sorry. For your ears. I'm sorry. There we go. There goes the first one. I'm sure I did it a lot in the last 8 minutes that we've been going. But yeah, so lighting, I've, over the years of being a photographer, and I still am a photographer, it's just lately, I used to sell my photography services, and that was like something that I really pushed forward, and not hard to do, but I kind of pushed for, and just let everyone know, hey, if you need a photographer, I'm the one. I would say word of mouth travels and still sells to this day, because that's how I got a lot of my revenue, was from someone who knew someone who knew someone who needed a photographer. And maybe they were getting married. Maybe it was school portraits or something like that. But word of mouth really sells and travels still quite a bit. So, yeah, hopefully I don't say so, yeah, a lot either. Anyways, I'm going to try not to really think about it, but it's going to take me a little bit of time to get into the swing of things because I haven't really made a video in some years. This is different than anything I've ever done because with videos, at least you can edit it before you upload it. This, I don't really edit. Like, the most that I edited or did any editing was in the first episode because I came up with an intro and then some B-roll and some little sound effects and then the outro, which I'm still kind of working on. And you'll notice that I'm going to try to keep things like streamlined with this, just because I feel like that's how it should be with a podcast, because the whole idea of a podcast and video podcast is that there really is no editing. What you see is what you get. And since I'm a new mom, that's perfect. Because I currently don't have a lot of time to sit down and edit something, you know. So yeah, podcast one and done. That's it for me. So that's the reason why you get all the ums and the so and the yes. Because this isn't a video that I'm going to go through and edit and cut out all of that. So I will learn as I go along and as I speak more than anything to not do that. But I'm not going to overthink it either. So anyway, photography. I've been a photographer. I started doing photography in a little before 2011, I would say, on a little point and shoot camera. It was a Samsung. I had got it for my 16th birthday, and that was weird. The light stopped. Anyways, I got the camera for my 16th birthday, and let's see, do I remember? I think I'm trying to remember what started me doing photography. I know in the last episode I talked about me being an artist of sorts, and I love art because you can really give forward almost like a part of yourself in a way. Like, I know that probably sounds crazy, but when you've been working on that painting, or whether it's physical, you know, painting or digital painting, whatever it is, photography is a big one for me, because if you can, you know, basically portray, or what am I trying to say? For me, photography is more than just pointing and clicking and, you know, pointing and shooting. It's more like capturing that moment that you can never have again. So it's kind of like time travel in a way. Because if you've taken a photo of someone, whether it's a family member or whatever, a dog, a cat, you can no longer get that moment back. And so for me, photography really captures a moment in time, and where the art comes in is if you can capture the mood and the feel that photo makes you feel, then I feel like that's a really good photo. Like, that's just like with black and white photography. That's one of my favorites, is black and white. Go figure. I know a lot of photographers out there, they're like, yeah, of course, black and white. I love all kinds of photography, to be honest. But I really love a really good black and white photo. And again, if you can make the viewer feel something, or if you can really make them almost like, if you can immerse the viewer into the photo, then I think that's what makes a good photo, makes a great photo. So, yeah, I started doing photography in my backyard by myself. Didn't know what I was doing. With a little point and shoot camera, I was pointing and shooting. And basically, I kind of got obsessed with making this point and shoot camera do something that it's not really meant to do. It was just meant to point and shoot real quick. I didn't really think about exactly what I was doing until I saw like this little dandelion, I think it was, on the ground. And I remember seeing basically like the background was a little blurry because I was kind of far up on to this dandelion. And I remember thinking, wow, that looks pretty cool. Like, you can see the details of the dandelion, and you can see, the blurriness of the background, which, again, it was just a little point and shoot camera, Samsung point and shoot camera. I don't think I still have that camera. I think my boyfriend has one upstairs that's similar to it. If I can find a photo of it, which I don't think I have either. And I can't remember what the model of the camera was. But I just remember being like, wow, this is cool. Because, again, you can capture that moment in time that you can't get back. And when you're taking photos of family members, or maybe you're at someone's birthday party, or whatever it is, you have kids and you just want to capture that moment that you feel attached to, you can. And nowadays, with all these phones and stuff like that, it's easy to capture, just to point and shoot and click everybody has all these photos. And some of them you think about before you take them, and some of them you don't. So, but yeah, again, that's what photography basically is to me. Hopefully that all makes sense. Is basically an art form. It's another form of art. But I don't think I finished my original thought, which was, that's kind of what any art form is whether it's capturing a moment in time, or whether it's trying to make someone feel something when they look at your painting or drawing or whatever it is. I think that's what really makes a good piece of art, no matter what the medium is. So, yeah. And me being a new mom, I already have tons of photos and tons of video. And of course, I love each and every one of them, because now my little one is 2 months and he's already getting so big, and time is just flying by. I know everybody says that. I knew it was going to happen, but when you're in it, I guess it's different. And you really realize how much time really flies by very quickly. And he's getting bigger and growing bigger, which is amazing and makes me excited, but also is sad all at the same time. It's so bittersweet. But that is another reason why I love photography, is because I do have photos that are meaningful for me. Not all of them are meant to be this grand photo, so and that's what makes photography, or really like any form of capturing that moment, amazing, whether it's a video or a photo. So we are at 20 minutes. Yay! We made it past the 20-minute mark, and hopefully this whole thing hasn't, hopefully this whole thing has made sense. I will do better in the next episode, I promise. I'll get back to my little outline so that way I can keep myself on track. Like I said, I ramble, or I can tend to ramble a lot and get off onto different subjects along the way. But I guess that's what makes podcasts exciting in a way, because you can still do an outline and stuff like that, but you might still get off on something else. So yeah, I basically, like I said, as a photographer, which haven't really been doing a lot of gigs lately, just because I think within the last few years, I've kind of been just kind of taking a back seat as far as, I'm not saying that I've just have stopped doing photography. I don't think I can ever quit photography, but the way that I started photography was a hobby. And so then it kind of turned into like this service that I was selling, and I was advertising and all this other stuff. So it started really feeling like a job, I guess you could say, in some ways. And so sometimes, because I know they say, well, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, or something like that. Can't remember the exact saying, but it goes something like that. That is true, and I do agree with that. However, my main job, I work, just like everybody else, an 8 to 5, if that's what you want to say. I really work 7 to 3, which is amazing. I love daytime hours. I've worked every shift there, but the thing is I'm a graphic designer, and basically, that's how graphic design began for me, was a hobby, and was something that I was just staying up late doing, and I didn't know what it was called at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. Again, I taught myself a lot of what I know, which also we'll talk about at some point in time what makes a good photographer. I think that's one of them. If you got the, go get it attitude, or, self-taught, anything like that. Some things you just can't be taught. Like, you just can't go to a class, a photography class, let's just say, and then after all of it's said and done, ooh, I'm a photographer. Not really. No, you're just someone who has a camera, right? The photographer and the artist aspect comes from doing and felling and doing and felling. So, you try something time after time after time, you learn from it, and you build on it. And somewhere along the lines, you then come up with your own style and how you do things, and that basically makes you a photographer. I have written down here, I was going to write down some questions that I've gotten asked over the years of being a photographer. Because, like I said, it started out as a hobby, then it kind of began to get or feel like a job. And so I kind of lost interest in it probably the last couple of years. And so I decided, why not just pause, take a break, kind of recuperate, and try to realign myself, you could say. And so as I was doing that, quite a bit of things changed for me, and I decided to, like I said, take a break from it. And so I stopped advertising, stopped, doing all of that. And so now, basically, what I do is I still do photography. Like I said, I'm not gonna ever be like, okay, I'm quitting photography. I'm never doing that again. But instead, kind of just letting it take a back seat. Letting it become a hobby again is really what I was doing. And that's exactly what I did. So, with all of that being said, I, still take photos of my son, my boyfriend, family members, my cat, all of that. So I still capture those little memories and moments in time that, I can't get back. So, yeah, but one of the questions that I've been asked is, does gear matter? Does photography gear matter? What gear should I get if you're starting out, photography and stuff like that? Honestly, I am a strong believer in, obviously, yeah, gear makes some things easier in some ways, but you have to know how to use that gear. And with that being said, I think my answer would be that I don't think gear really matters. And what I mean by that is, just because you have top of the line camera, and which also, I've been like, somebody will see my camera and they're like, oh, I bet that camera takes amazing photos, as if, me being behind the camera doesn't really matter, which I know that's probably not what they're saying. I'm probably reading into it a little too much, but what I mean is that you can have all the top of the line stuff, camera, lights, lenses, stuff like that. What it all comes down to, and it kind of ropes into what I was saying earlier, which is the thing that really matters is the person standing behind the camera, or standing behind that gear, or the person who's using that gear. So I think it's more challenging if you're a new photographer and you're watching or you're listening. I really want you to think about what gear you have at the moment and making that work for you. So a lot of people, when they're first starting out, will get, a kit. They always, Sony's got one, Nikon, Canon, all the big camera retailers have it. All you have to do is Google it and it shows up. So, 9 times out of 10, every starting photographer will buy the kit because it's not that much more extra to, buy the kit versus buying a camera body and some lenses and calling that a kit. So it'd be kind of crazy to do that whenever you can buy this kit over here that usually comes with, of course, the camera, a couple lenses, and some accessories and stuff like that. A lot of times, a lot of photographers will say, oh, that lens is terrible. You shouldn't use that. Honestly, a lot of these kits nowadays are coming with some pretty great lenses. They're probably not going to be the lens that you keep using. I mean, of course, you're going to build on. I think my son is waking up. Of course, you're going to build on it, and you're going to get new lenses, and you're going to eventually find, well, I don't really like that lens. I love this lens. Whether it's a high-end lens or a low-end lens, I think you should challenge yourself to use what you have. So, like, what I mean personally is the only thing that I use is, of course, I have my camera. I usually bring a couple lenses so that way I'll have, a good range. Depending on what I'm shooting, that really probably would make it or break it. As it depends on what you're shooting. Is it portrait session? Is it, are you just doing street photography? Whatever the case may be. And I might break this episode up from this episode 2 to 3. 2 and 3 might go together. But I guess the overall goal is to really challenge yourself with what you have. So yeah, usually what I bring with me is, like I said, a couple lenses, my camera. I challenge myself with the lighting aspect because there's only usually one of me that's shooting. I don't have a team or anything like that. I've shot anything from a wedding to portrait session to events. I mean, I feel like I've had a good range of different, what would you call it? Some different, he's made me lose my train of thought, if I could speak. But, yeah, a good range of things that I've shot. So I challenge myself with the lighting because, like I said, there's only one of me, and I don't have, a posse with me to help me with lighting or to help set up the lighting and stuff like that. So throughout the years, I've really challenged myself with, okay, let me try and get what I want out of the camera so that way I don't have to sit and, spend hours of time editing, which is also another episode that I'd like to do or to speak on would be that. But hopefully this is all making sense. But that's what I would say. So, yeah, gear, it does matter, but it also doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it depends on who's behind the camera. And, have you failed? Which I know sounds weird, but have you fallen and gotten back up and, really sharpened those skills? So I think that would be what I would say. So, yeah. I guess I am going to go ahead and go because my little one is getting irritated. So, and he's waking up from his little nap. So, yeah. Hopefully that all made sense. But anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And if you're on Apple or any kind of other podcast avenue, thank you for listening. And I look forward to episode 3. So yeah, like, subscribe. And I think you can also like and subscribe on the different podcast avenues as well. So, yeah, I will talk to you guys in the next one.